Hey guys, it's Dennis here with Revog Games, and this is our weekly podcast. I'm joined by
Joshua Weyers, all the way in South Africa.
and we got it. Even though we dropped an episode on Monday, I believe, we're back again already on Friday, which is our usual drop date. Just because there's been so much news, and then we're gonna have E3 coming this weekend, and so there's gonna be tons of stuff there. So we kind of want to cover everything we can before that happens, because that in itself is going to be a pretty big thing. So we're going to cover whatever big trailers or news comes out, and we're already kind of getting leaks in terms of some of that stuff or little previews. So let's get at it. I mean, right off the bat, the next Battlefield game was revealed, and it ended up being Battlefield 2042, which is takes place in the future, much like Call of Duty Black Ops Infinite Warfare. They released like a 5-minute trailer. They gave some story details and some gameplay details, which I think they're going to show some gameplay footage pretty soon, probably sometime this weekend. What were your thoughts when you saw the trailer and kind of the future of the franchise?
Definitely like one of their more action-packed trailers that I've seen. They've always done good trailers, but like I think of Battlefield 1's trailer, and it was very dramatic. It wasn't like action. I mean, it was action-packed, but it was more dramatic than anything else. It was more of a heavy focus on like heavy drama, World War One. You know what I mean? Whereas this was just like it was action-packed. It gives me like Battlefield 4 vibes, like feeling. The way it looks, but it looks like there's going to be a lot of different mechanics. I'm excited for it. It also seems like they're not necessarily going to their roots, but they're sticking to the whole this is a multiplayer game. You know what I mean? I believe there's no single player to this game, which people are like upset about, but at the same time it's like from my recollection of like Battlefield back in the day, it never had a single player. You know what I mean?
It did.
It was just it's.
Battlefield 3. I remember I played the single player campaign.
I'm saying like prior, like
Oh,
way, like
prior.
before that even.
Okay.
Yeah, like we're talking like Battlefield 1942, Battlefield like the older ones. Like they never really. It was just a multiplayer game. You know. So some people are upset about that, but for me, I'm not because like I've never really like Call of Duty is different. Call of Duty, I've always enjoyed the single player campaigns because they're very like they're good stories, they're good narrative games, they're good uh the game guides you well. With Battlefield, I've never really cared about the story games. I've enjoyed the multiplayer more than the single player. You know what I mean? But it looks great. 128 people on a map, which is going to be with tornadoes, which is going to be insane. So that's gonna be exciting more than anything. Like seeing the weather play a role. You know what I mean? Like you're just in the middle of a game, 128 people shooting at each other. All of a sudden, there's a tornado. How is that gonna affect the people in the air that are in aircrafts or planes or jets or whatever? I mean, in the trailer, we saw them using a wingsuit. So I wonder if we will have wingsuits available in the game. I mean, why else would they show it? Most likely. It looks fun. Like I think like if I have enough people to play this with, I would probably pick it up. You know what I mean? Um, but it does look like a lot of good. So yeah, high hopes for it, man. Like it also what we saw, all the video that we saw, it didn't seem like anything was in game, or in engine. Like it was
It could
it seemed
be
a little too
maybe
polished.
not in engine, but it's definitely from the console itself. It wasn't like pre-rendered CG. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it was
some
still.
of it just looked a little too good. If it's gonna look like that in game, then holy hell,
I mean,
I'm ready for
if
it.
you're talking about PS5 and Xbox Series X, possibly. I mean,
And
who
PC
knows?
probably, yeah.
Yeah. I actually have mixed feelings about this. Watching the trailer, because it felt very more Call of Duty, like all kind of like I've given
Mm,
usually my positive experiences with Battlefield games have been like because they've been much more realistic than Call of Duty, and here you have something, one, it's set in the future, much like Call of Duty and Infinite War. The trailer has the Poison Kickstart Your Heart or whatever song in there. It's more fun. It is, looking at the trailer, you can tell, okay, this is focused on multiplayer. And it has some of the ridiculousness that I do enjoy in Call of Duty, but I just never had really seen it in Battlefield before, like with the plane and him jumping out of the plane and pulling out a bazooka and shooting the other plane and then falling back to his own. You know what I mean? Like that type of stuff. I just kind of more felt like a Call of Duty vibe to it. And then the thing that I have the biggest question about, and this is something we can discuss further, is, okay, if there's no single player campaign, right? And it's strictly a multiplayer game, it is $59.99. Who knows on PS5 or Xbox Series X if it's gonna be like $69.99. Now with the plethora of online multiplayer games that are free, I mean, yes, they do make their money with, you know, skins and cosmetics and all that stuff that you can buy. What is going to get people to plunk down the $60, $70 to play this game? Do you understand what I'm saying? If it's full price game, multiplayer only, as someone who really, I guess maybe I'm not the ideal customer for these companies, because I just don't buy that much I'll buy them once in a while if it's something very special and I really like it. I'm just, they're not getting their money's worth out of me. That's what I'm saying from like these free to play games. So
I think people are going to buy it. I think like regardless, I think people. I'll tell you what. The past 2 Battlefield games I bought just for multiplayer. Usually because actually, you know what? Scratch that. Every single Battlefield game I have ever bought in my entire life has been because a friend has got the game and I want to play with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at least like that's been my take. Whereas Call of Duty has been the kind of game that I would want to buy for the story. You know. Yeah, I don't know. Battlefield never really look. Well, Bad Company is a different situation, but Battlefield never really did too many good stories, you know, or like good single player campaigns. So I'm excited for this. I did just read that apparently, which is quite interesting. So I'm guessing there's probably not going to be crossplay, because the key difference in the console generations here is the older consoles will only be 64 player maps. So
makes sense.
It's only So it's only the latest consoles that can handle the vast amount of players, like 120. What was it? 125, 120 something, 128. That's that's a lot of people, man. Yeah, literally double the size of people. So I don't know. I think that's gonna add like a freshness to it, an excitement to it. The maps are gonna be big. They have to be to accommodate those kind of people. You know what I mean? And to accommodate a tornado and people flying around, driving around. It seems that they are pushing some form of, well, I don't know. They're saying it's not a battle royale, but there's going to be a squad-based mode called Hazard Zone, and they're like apparently really stressing that it is not a battle royale. So I don't know what I don't know what it means. It's probably just some kind of 4-player. I don't know. There's actually not much information about that mode. It's just called Hazard Zone, which, yeah, squad-based mode called Hazard Zone. The name makes me think it's probably like one of those you're fighting for control of an area kind of game. You know what I mean? With squads of 4. But I think it's gonna sell well, man. I think I'm looking forward to it. It's
October 22nd is the launch date. And then. Okay.
Are they still going to be selling games a year after, though? That's what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Well, okay. So talking about this whole cost thing, they're still selling a season pass, the battle pass or whatever. They said there will be some free content, but then there's going to be paid content through the battle pass. And, you know, $59.99 for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 will have $69.99. I guess what I'm saying is, outside of the people who are fans of this franchise and hardcore, you know, players, like, yeah, you really have to deliver then. I mean, the reviews have to be
Hmm.
fantastic. People are going to have to say it's something different. There's something new. There's something that you can get out of it that you can't get out of Call of Duty Warzone. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's multiplayer only, no single player. It is let's be honest, like a kind of format and genre that we're used to seeing, and there's plenty of competition. So I guess what my concern is, like, being able to get people to pay for this experience. I'm not saying it's not worth it, because that remains to be seen, but it's just from a marketing standpoint, a little, in this climate of what this genre is at right now, it's just a little bit tougher.
Yeah, it seems kind of like there is an approach that, like, well, I would have, maybe I'm just like looking into it a bit too much, but they're saying that, like, it's not that the game doesn't have a narrative, in you're gonna be getting like narrative bits through the specialists, through the classes, which is kind of like what I think it was Call of Duty, was it Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 4, the one where there wasn't a campaign, it was just the multiplayer, but you kind of found out through the story, through like the backstories of all the agents you could play or something.
Was
I don't
that
know. I don't
black?
really like that.
Was that Blackout or Black
I
Op?
think that was
No,
when they did. I think it
Blackout.
was when they
Blackout.
did. It was when Blackout came out. It was
Okay.
It was the Call of Duty that came with that, I think.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm not a fan of that particularly. Like with these kind of big games when it's 128 people, I don't really care about the individual story of my person. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's war, man. Like I don't need to know about like, oh, I had a rough time and I lost my arm and now here I am with my cybernetic arm and like no, we're shooting people. There's 128 people shooting each other. I don't
Yeah.
care about like anyway. Like I'm excited for that part. Like I think. I'm still gonna be a bit on the fence of it until I see an actual map. You
Hmm.
know, I think once we see like some actual maps, that's when we're really gonna be able to tell what this game is gonna bring to the table.
I mean, you
Because
saw hints.
if the maps are too big, if they're too
They look
small,
big from the trailer. They have the whole like
definitely they gotta be, yeah.
There's one
Because
with a
there's always been planes and stuff.
There's one with like a space shuttle. There's like one in the like Antarctica. So they look very big, at least from
Mm.
what we saw in the trailer.
But that being said, I suppose when it comes to look, here's the thing. $60 game, easy. You know what I mean? It's the $70 part on PS5 and Xbox Series X, or I'm blanking, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the next gen price that like you're wondering, is that extra $10 worth it for double the player base? And only time will tell, I suppose. I mean, for me, it's like it's $10 to find out. Why not? I'm okay with spending an extra $10 to like find out if double the amount of players is going to be more fun or less fun. Because it really, you don't know. It's either going to be more fun or less fun.
Yeah, but are
You
you
know,
gonna
it's
get it
either
on?
gonna.
Are you gonna get it on PC, or are you gonna get it on a next gen console? I
I
mean,
mean, I'm gonna get it on PC, so it's probably gonna be like $60 or like
yeah,
the
yeah,
usual price.
yeah. It's usual. It's
Yeah.
not 70. So
But for if I was on PS5, because eventually I do want to get myself a PS5 for a couple of reasons. There's a couple like games coming out that I would like. We'll talk about it later as well. Like a lot of footage they dropped for Kina, which was a game that I was not looking forward to because it seemed very like geared towards children because
hmm
it's got a very Disney Pixar look, but the combat looks great. So, but we'll get into that later. Um, yeah, it's an interesting choice, but like I said, it's not like they're strangers of it. Everything prior to Battlefield 3 had no storyline. It's just always been multiplayer.
yeah.
I suppose it's one of those things where like, look, all the Battlefield fans currently right now have been spoiled with narrative stories and single player experiences with their games, you know? So you are kind of taking that away from them, but if the multiplayer experience is engaging enough and like fast paced and like high stakes, you're not gonna care, you know? Like
Yeah.
I think of like when Fortnite came out, and I have to use this example because nothing really relates to it. Like yes, PUBG was around at the time, but that craze of like for a lot of people, the first royale you ever play, if you've never played a battle royale before, it doesn't matter what battle royale it is an intense first game. Doesn't matter what game you're because you're like, holy crap, there can only be one. You know what I mean? And like when you're that engaged, you don't care about a story like a story line to the game or anything like that. You know what I mean? You just want to keep playing the game. Same with Valorant. I mean, I play Valorant all the time. I don't spend money on the skins or the battle pass or anything like that. Well, like once or twice I have, but I don't really care about it. I play the game because the game is engaging,
Yeah,
and
but
I'll play it over and over again.
how
It's
much?
free.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
free.
it's free.
That's what I'm
But I would
saying.
have paid for it. I would have paid for it. I will say that because CS:GO is also free to play
Okay.
now, but CS:GO it wasn't always free. You know, like these types of games, like tactical shooters, they weren't always free. They were
Yeah, I
like there
know.
was a price to pay
I,
for it. Yeah.
I'm just looking at today's climate and just looking at this freemium model versus this. You know, I'll be honest with you. I am not planning on getting this game unless a ton of people are like, man, this is like amazing. You've never played anything like it. It's, you know, fantastic. You got to get it. Because all these games that they just keep coming and going. And I'm just, I guess for me, just maybe because I'm not a huge online multiplayer competitive video game player, a lot of stuff just comes and goes for me. And so there's just so much out there. And like, if I were to play, right? I would probably go pick up Call of Duty Warzone and start trying that out, you know, which I haven't played before, or you know, get back into Apex Legends. The one thing, and this exists not just for Battlefield, but also for Call of Duty, and games that are kind of their style is based on kind of the militaristic, realistic style. It's a lot harder to sell the different characters and skins and costumes and all that stuff because you're so limited on what you can do versus where when you have kind of a more outrageous sci-fi fantasy adventure, you know what I'm saying? Like with Fortnite or Apex Legends, there's just like the characters are wild and crazy.
Even Valorant,
yeah,
like they're flashy enough to stand out for you to want to spend money on them. You know. Well, I mean, the agents are free, but the skins, like your gun takes up
yeah,
most of your screen, so it's worth it, you know? Um, I mean, look, the one thing that has always set Battlefield aside from any other game, and the biggest difference between Battlefield and Call of Duty is vehicles. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Is the Battlefield does have like it has your planes, your jets, your helicopters, your tanks,
mm-hmm.
your motorcycles. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of mobility, which is good. And I'd imagine with the tornado and the wingsuit combination, that it's going to be more of a focus on mobility. Like I'd imagine like trying to dodge bullets while in a wingsuit's going to be quite fun. I think it'll do good. There's definitely a market for it because it's different enough from Call of Duty, you know what I mean? Like the two games have always competed, but they are at the same time very different games, you know?
yeah,
In the way that you approach them. Like
yeah,
but it's also like I'm. It's not the. I wouldn't get the game unless I had a group of people to play it with. It doesn't
yeah.
look like the kind of game. I mean, you can enjoy it playing it alone because you're not going to be communicating with all 60 of your teammates or
Yeah, no,
whatever. You're
no,
you're only going to be communicating between like two or three of them, and if the maps are big enough, you're not even going to be with your friends half the time anyways. So you could play the game single player wise, but I don't know. I've always, like I said, I've always been dragged into these games by friends, so most
mm-hmm.
likely that'll be the case moving
Yeah,
forward. We'll see what how the reviews do. We'll see how it
yeah.
comes out, you know?
I'll probably
Because
wait and hear
it
from
could have a
you.
bad launch. Could have a bad launch.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
wait to hear from you, and then But
My
as our
my worry my worry about this game is that it's great, and then the player base falls off because there's just like too many good games out there
eh,
that you know you could play. That's like shooting wise, if that makes sense, because that tends to happen. Like Battlefield 1, it was awesome, but after a few months the servers weren't dead, but they weren't busy, you know what I
yeah,
mean? And that's always been my issue with Battlefield, is that the servers, like, sometimes they just like they're not as populated as what you want them. Call of Duty always has populated servers, even on like
mm-hmm.
the older games, you know.
Yeah.
um but yeah,
All right.
I'm looking forward to it though.
So the next thing that kind of dropped was we got to see the first gameplay reveal trailer for Elden Ring, which is
Yeah.
from software, but everyone's kind of
George R. Martin.
yeah, paying attention because it's George R. R. Martin that's doing the story, and I think Hidetaka Miyazaki I believe is doing the designs. Is that what he does? Um, in terms of like the world designs, creature designs, and all that stuff. I'm not exactly because I never played Dark Souls.
I was gonna. I think he does like the because I will say like I didn't play enough Dark Souls to get half the references, but I saw a breakdown video of
Uh,
someone breaking down almost frame by frame the trailer, and there are like a ridiculous amount of Dark Souls references to the game.
uh
So it seems like he did put a lot of his own like spin on things, you know? I'd
Okay,
imagine the story.
he's the
Yeah,
president of From Software, and he's a game director,
yeah.
designer, writer. So he's yeah, I'm sure George R. R. Martin, not really an expert in video games, but an expert in storytelling, and so
Yeah.
combined together, making this world and whatnot. I'll give you my initial thoughts on the trailer. Then I'll get yours. So like I watched it. Character designs look great. The world looks cool. Much like all kind of these dark fantasy stories nowadays, the stories are very and you can talk later about the story details that were revealed, but they're just
Mm.
very convoluted, where like you have to get into the world before you can, like, even Game of Thrones, right? Game of Thrones is a huge hit, right? It was not a huge hit from the beginning. It took a while for people to get into the stories and the characters because there's no, like, usually when you go to watch a movie, they have something called the high concept or whatever, the hook, the thing that they're trying to sell you on, right? Like Back to the Future, a teenage boy gets sent back in the past to make sure his parents, still fall in love so he doesn't, disappear from existence, right? That's the hook. When it comes to these fantasy games, or not games, just fantasy in general, right? Whether it's movies, television, games, whatever. They always have these stories that are like really detailed, but you can't really tell if it's good or not until you actually get into it because they're always telling you like these stories of like the history of this world and these characters and these, but there's no real like thing, right, about it that makes you go,
Yeah.
okay, that's gonna hook me. You just gotta try it and see, and then see if it appeals to you. So that's the one. Obviously we trust it from George R. R. Martin's, his background, and then just from Software's background as well. Trailer looked good. I would say if I had a criticism, because the actual designs of the worlds and characters look great, I will say some of the graphics in terms of the
The
models
textures, man, look
are not,
bad.
yeah, they're not,
Old.
yeah, they don't look very next gen, very, you know what I mean? There's a bit of
Let me interrupt you quick because the best way to put it, and this is like this is I mean, there's a lot of good things about this game, but the one thing that did piss me off, and it's the same thing you're talking about right now, is that it's like the texture. They're not bad, but they're very old gen. They kind of it reminds me of the Dark Souls 2
mhm,
actually. You know what I mean? And it's like, but the lighting is really good. So
mhm,
you have this really weird contrast of like amazing lighting and then like older textures. So
yeah.
they look really real but bad. Like
Yeah, the hair doesn't flow like hair. The clothes look kind of pasted on. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's not exactly kind of more
oh, I see I'm
modern.
frozen, but
Yeah, you're
there we
back.
go, I'm back.
Yeah. So yeah,
Um,
that kind of like was like, not quite, what I was expecting.
these type of games have been known to do that with their armor pieces as well, because
Uh-huh.
I'd imagine there's going to be so many armor sets in the
Mhm.
game and so many weapon sets. There's a lot of speculations, a lot of things I could talk about this game, but we'll start with the fact we'll talk about these textures, which is a lot of games do it, and at the same time I understand because when you have a vast amount of equipment in the game, you can't make sure that they all have the bone markings or the bone works. You know what I'm talking about?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like the way like things will move, it'll almost like stretch. Like
Mhm.
textures will stretch instead of like not staying where they are. And like I see it with a lot of video games where people wear like armor and they'll move, and then the armor will like almost bend or shapeshift and like not keep its form
Yeah.
because they're just slapped onto the character. And that's kind of like what the you're getting from this sense. But hey, it does. I will say the world looks great. Um, Well, before I get into anything, there's a lot of like a couple of things I want to get into. Is there anything else you want to mention before I get into
I
like
just mentioned that
the bulk of it?
supposed to come out in 2022, but January 21st on all the different
Mm-hmm.
platforms: PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, PC. So that's kind of the targeted release date.
Yeah. Hold on. I want to quickly finish up this. What do they mean by there's a sad reason? Because I'm going to talk about it as well. But one of the things that separate this from your usual Souls game is the fact that there are NPCs,
Mm-hmm.
which usually in Dark Souls, when you see an NPC, they're
To kill.
like they're there to kill. They're either going to kill you or they're just like morbidly depressed, sitting there
Mm-hmm.
doing nothing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I think of the guy who always sits at the campfire and he just sits there. He's just morbidly sitting there, doesn't do
Mm-hmm.
anything. But yeah, they say that they're going to be NPCs and they can either help or hurt you, which I'm not too sure what that entails. So it's like, I guess be wary about who you talk to and what you talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of the biggest differences is that there's a horse. There's a lot of there. You have a mount. So the game is large. This is supposedly the biggest game that they've ever worked on, and the world is seamless. No loading screens or anything. The world itself is seamless. So it doesn't seem like you'll be going into like you're going to go into dungeons, but you're gonna like walk into them. You're not gonna load into them. You're actually gonna like walk into them. So that seems quite cool.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so hold on, let me get this straight. Elden Ring will have adversaries with profound backgrounds because it looked like there was also like in the trailer it almost looked like because you saw a couple other different characters and I was like, is that me? And I don't think that is like there was like one person how like a werewolf in armor like howling at the moon. You know what I'm talking about? I don't
Mm-hmm.
think that that's you. I think that could be an NPC. That's my speculation because they're saying that the NPCs are like these adversaries with profound backgrounds, unique motivations for helping or hindering your progress. So you could have people hop in. People are speculating that this could be four-player co-op.
Hmm.
It's definitely going to be co-op of some sort because if you saw, it has the same thing that like a lot of the Dark Souls games has in terms of co-op, where it's like your friend can come in like ghost or astral form, whatever you want to call it, and you fight together. I think it's probably going to be co-op. I don't think it's going to be four players. People are speculating four players because there is that one scene in the trailer where it almost looks like he summons like two other people as well to fight, which were also like in this ghost mode. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like the kind. It seems like the kind of game where if there were four people, it'd be way too much going on. Two people seems cool, and then you'd only want it. Like the way that they did it with Dark Souls was good. Like you don't like having a friend with you is cool, and you're not going to have him with you there for the whole time. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
people kind of like hop in and out with each other, which I think is quite fun. Looks like there's a lot of different classes, a lot of different weapons. Very like, I mean, look, it's difficult to talk about this game and not talk about Dark Souls, obvious
Yeah.
reasons. But there's so you can expect a lot of Dark Souls elements, not just the combat, but obviously like multiples of different types of weapons. Like it looked like there was, I mean, there was a bow and arrow, there was like a magic staff of sorts, so there's magic, your sword, you know what I mean? There's going to be all sorts of different weapons. There's like a giant club that I saw in one of the stalls. Um, it looks good. It looks fun. Also, it's going to have dynamic weather, which makes sense because if they're making this big open world, you're gonna dynamic weather just adds that level. It adds a level of atmosphere that's nice, you
Yeah.
know. Whereas in previous Dark Souls games, it's always been dark and gloomy. You know, there was just the one mood all the time. So it'll
Yeah.
be nice to have a
Ever
dynamic
changing.
weather
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then in another article, they said that Elden Ring is not just a game,
Mm,
that they plan
correct. Yeah.
on kind of making licenses in other media kind of platforms, movies, TV shows, animated novels, all that stuff. I mean, they're
Do
not. They
you
didn't
think
say specifically that. They just meant that it will go to other mediums. They didn't
yeah,
say which
I can see
ones.
George R.R. working on a book comes
Yeah.
out 10 years from now.
Yeah.
We'll already know everything about it because we played the game.
Yeah.
Here's what I think could boost the game is if they could get some sort of mini series out before the release of the game. I think that
Yeah.
would help the sale of the game because a lot of these I mean once again going back to Dark Souls, it's a very intimidating lore, and I can already tell you that
Yeah.
well, I can already tell that this game looks like it's going to have a lot of intimidating lore, like very heavy lore, a lot for you to wrap your head around. So it would be nice for there to be some kind of mini series or something where it like explains the lore a bit better before we go into the game,
Mm-hmm.
which helps us connect to the game world a bit better. But going back to the horse, it looks like you can summon your horse out of nowhere because the guy does that in the trailer, just poof, summons his horse. The horse is like jumping around and it looks fun. Like I was not expecting the horse mechanics like at all from a Dark Souls game. Like, well, it's not a Dark Souls game, but you know what I mean. Not expecting the horse, so that's quite cool. Um, yeah, and also a lot of people thought that this game was never going to come out. They never like. There's a lot of people
Well,
who thought that just because of George R. R.
yeah.
Martin, they thought that this game would never ever happen. And then here we are
Also,
with the trailer.
they announced it a while ago, right? And so like,
Mm.
we hadn't been hearing much from it. So I think people were getting a little antsy in terms of like, is this real? Is this is this gonna be something that ends up getting canceled, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I I can't say I'm excited for it because this isn't the type of game I would be excited for because it's the kind of game that I'll pick it up at some point. I'll play it. I'll be like, "Whoa, what a cool world!" And then after an hour, I'll just hate myself for having died 100 times in like
I
in an
do
hour.
I do hope that, because with the two things with the George R. R. Martin connection, I do hope, one, that they do have
Good
variants
difficulty
of
scaling. Yeah.
difficulty settings, because people who are George R. R. Martin fans or Game of Thrones fans that will want to check it out, and maybe they just want to play it for the story. And the second thing that's connected with that is I do hope that it's very story driven. That,
Mm.
yeah, I do know, the Dark Souls kind of game
It's
format, but
it's very figure it out yourself kind of story usually, and I hate that. It's like some people like that, but for me, I don't want to sit there and read note after note that I pick up off the ground to
no,
figure
no,
out why these people are doing these
I
things,
want to talk to people. That's my biggest thing. That was
Yeah.
my biggest complaint about the first Borderlands game. The single player game part was
Mm.
everything was just notes, and also Fallout 76 when they first did it. Now it's better because they have NPCs that talk to you and whatnot, but it was all like audio recordings and notes and computer files, and it was like, which is great for atmosphere when you want to do it once in a while, but the bulk of stuff needs to be with NPC. So I'm really hoping
Yeah.
Elden Ring comes. So this is a game that I probably will be purchasing.
I think there'll be cutscenes, which is
Yeah,
good.
but I want cutscenes. I want NPCs. I want a little more.
We've got NPCs.
Or-
Whether they help the story, who knows?
That's what I mean.
Because yeah, who knows? Because if the NPCs can kill you or help you, I feel like they're not going to serve the story. They're
Mhm.
more going to serve their own story. Like I feel that's what I'm imagining. I'm imagining each NPC that can either help or kill you. I feel like they have their own whole thing going on. Like they're going to have their own backstory, their whole own. You like say for instance, this is you taking the ring to Mordor. I feel like you're gonna rock. They're gonna like bump into like a dwarf who's like, oh no, my life goal is to build a mech suit, and it's like, what does that have to do with the story? Nothing, but that's what the guy's on about, and it's cool, and it's gonna be its own thing. But I'm hoping that we get like cutscenes with dialogue.
Yeah.
Like I guess that's what we want. We want cutscenes with dialogue and like good, semi-good acting.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to figure out the story. I don't want to have to go crawl around on like weird internet forums to figure out what the artist meant by doing this.
Well, speaking of the story, so here's the official synopsis, and it's like, this is what I mean by like, it's so like,
kind of vague. It's
just vague. Just you have to play like, the Golden Order has been broken. Rise, tarnished, and be guided by grace to brandish the power of the Elden Ring and become an Elden Lord in the lands between. In the lands between, ruled by the Queen Marika, the Eternal, the Elden Ring and the source of Erd Tree has been shattered. Marika's offspring, demigods all, claim the shards of the Elden Ring known as the Great Ruins, and the mad taint of their newfound strength triggered a war, the Shattering. A war that meant abandonment by the greater will. And now the guidance of grace will be brought to the tarnished, who were spurned by the grace of gold and exiled from the lands between. Ye dead, who yet live, your grace long lost, follow the path to the lands between, beyond the foggy sea, to stand before the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. have no idea. I just read that whole thing. No idea what the story's about.
You know what it makes me think of is, and I think, and you'll know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you've seen enough of them, but I have binged all the Conan Clueless Gamer videos ever since you sent me the one about Biomutant, I think. And he does this thing where he's like, every time his assistant or the guy that comes in explains the video game he's about to play, he says the synopsis, and every time Conan's like, I don't know what you're saying. And he's like, there's always like, we gotta go get the global gloop to go fetch the thing to go to the Kibigop Center. And he's like, there's always like, it doesn't mean anything, you know what I mean? And I read the synopsis and I had the same feeling. I was like, what the actual fuck are they talking about? This is why we need a miniseries. Because just say the first line again. It was the golden
the golden order has been broken.
Who the fuck is the golden order?
Don't know.
Like, why am I supposed to care?
That's what I'm saying, man. The fantasy is like that. It's like really kind of.
That's why I couldn't read the Lord of the Rings books, man. I tried the first Lord of the Rings book, and I think it was just the first like 3 pages. I could be wrong.
I mean, I love
the
lore.
First 3 pages, Dennis, were about a blade of grass flowing through the wind. It was like the first 2 pages, but they described it in such detail, and I was like, who cares? I get it, you know?
Yeah. For me, I do love the lore of stuff. I mean, I love Game of Thrones, but you actually have to watch it, get into it, and
you need good world building as well. You need to ease people into it,
Yeah. So, anyways, that's Elden Ring. Looking forward to that. So Netflix kind of had a lot of announcements about video game related stuff, but for their platform. The biggest one was they gave kind of a first look at the Splinter Cell animated series, which is coming. The Derek Kolstad, the creator of the John Wick franchises, he's on board to write the series, and they had a picture of it. And it was trending on Twitter. It was just funny about this is every piece of news you get about Splinter Cell has nothing to do with a standalone game. Like everything we go, oh, they're gonna be in this multiplayer game that Ubisoft is making. They're making another multiplayer game, and Sam Fisher's gonna be in. Oh, there's an anime
freaking Splinter Cell game, man.
Yeah, I just think it's fun.
Let me play a stealth game that isn't Assassin's Creed for once, man. Jeez.
Yeah. So they had that picture. It looked fine. But I to be honest, I'd be much more excited if it was a live action series versus an animated. But still, it's cool, exciting. They get a first look for The Witcher season 2, which, to be honest, I haven't finished season 1 yet of The Witcher. And what was the third thing that they?
There was a couple other gaming related animations that they're doing. There's the Cuphead show that they announced with which they did a cool. I mean, look, Cuphead is one of those things that like. That was a no-brainer. That was like a no-brainer. You know what I mean? Like it's literally like well-known for its animations in the game. Why not make an animation? So I'm looking forward to watching that. I have a feeling it's going to be very dark. I mean, I wonder what kind of like things it's going to tackle, because the song that it opens up with is I don't know if you know what the name of the song is. I forget what it is.
No,
the
never
hidey ho.
Oh yeah. I know that song. I didn't know
one.
That was used.
Like they used it for the little thing, and then I think they said, who was it? They got
Wayne Brady.
Wayne Brady is gonna voice the main. He's gonna be the King Dice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool.
Yeah. The Resident Evil stuff. Resident Evil live action TV series that's going to be on Netflix. They announced the cast. The only name I recognize is Lance Reddick, but they have Ella
also
Balinska,
that's the only name I recognized.
Tamara Smart, Sienna Agudong,
Adeline
Rudolph,
Dennis,
Paul Nunez.
This is. I feel like they should have flipped it here. I feel like the Splinter Cell thing should have been live action, and the Resident Evil thing should have been animated.
Well, remember they have the 3D animes. They have so much Resident Evil stuff coming out.
That's true. Yeah.
They have the 3D animated series. Then they have the live action series. Then they're doing a reboot of the films, a live action film. Like there's just gonna be so much Resident Evil
I will
stuff coming
say,
out.
I feel like I don't think that the Splinter Cell series is gonna do well. I think it's gonna be cool, but I don't think it's gonna like get a second season. It doesn't
Mhm.
seem like the thing that would. It's it would just be so much better if it was live action, you
Yeah,
know? Unless they're doing
stealth doesn't
yeah.
really lend itself to, I don't know,
It's like yeah,
animated.
I mean unless you're Batman, you know? Like it doesn't really work out that well. Hold up. We had oh yeah, so this I'm excited about because I was very disappointed by the Dota series that Netflix brought out. I was very disappointed by it.
Mm.
Um, but the League of Legends one, they dropped like a good like what like a two minutes of it, and well the clip I'm looking at, I don't know if it's just my internet. Yeah, no, it can't be my internet, but it's like so low res. But the animation style I'm really digging. It's like it's this clip that we get to see of Jinx. Sorry, I almost like blanked on her name. But it looks like I like the animation style already. Like like it looks unique. It looks really like I don't want to say high budget, but like it's not the 2D. It's not 2D animation, but it's not 3D animation. Kind of makes me think of like Spider-Verse type animation, you know? And it's just like it's a good medium. It looks good. Like there's nothing to know about the show because it's just like a 2 minute little clip of Jinx walking around looking at things. But I'm excited about that. That looks good. Um, oh yeah, and then this is weird. I don't think that this is gonna get a sequel, but they're doing a um. So Far Cry 3 had an expansion called Blood Dragon, and it was a lot of fun. And it was this weird like synthwave 80s like cyberpunk kind of like action shooter expansion for Far Cry 3. They've decided that they're doing that it's going to get a series. So they're not even doing a Far Cry series. They're doing
Animated or live action?
animated. And
Okay.
oh, this like there's like if they did live action for this, I would actually
Mm.
prefer it, but it would have to be like did you ever watch Kung I think it was Kung Fury? That like 40-minute short that was did very
Yes.
well viral. I like if they did it like that, it would be
Yeah.
beautiful. If they did it like that, it would be amazing. But if no, they're doing an animated series, which to be fair, because I guess you can go even more over the top, more cyberpunk, more synthwave. We'll put
Hmm.
more neon, more explosions, you know? There's no clip for it. I just see the main guy's face. It looks very anime,
Hmm.
you know? Um yeah, I'm it's just it's a curious decision that they made.
Yeah.
That's all I
Uh,
can say. It's a curious choice, yeah.
yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next topic. This one's uh, a big deal, and it's something we kind of
Mm.
have been talking about for a while. We've been alluding to it. So, Xbox, basically, they're going to start partnering up with like TVs and other devices in terms of getting Xbox slash Game Pass onto these devices so that they can stream playing games, cloud gaming onto them. Like we mentioned with Google Stadia and Amazon Luna or whatnot. So they're going to start going to these different manufacturers to get Xbox Game Pass on there so that people can all they need is a controller. They'll buy a controller, and then whether their TV or whatever other device they have, we mentioned before, like with tablets or whatnot, cell phones, and just you can play games like that. Obviously, technology still needs to get better, and streaming needs to get better, but that's the whole idea. Because remember, Microsoft doesn't, not that they don't care, but they're moving away from the traditional console platform, and they know that the money is in the subscription. You know, they want Game Pass to be like the Netflix of video gaming, and so this is not a surprising move. We've been talking about it for a long time. I mean, they keep saying they insist that the console is still the flagship experience, but this is just another way to broaden the user base so that people have a lower barrier of entry, you know. But I really do think this is the future and the future of gaming, is just once they get the technology up there that you're just going to have a TV that has Xbox Game Pass, much like, how TVs have smart TVs that have Netflix built into them now.
Well, I was gonna say like that's one thing. A smart TV has just got Android built into it,
Yeah.
essentially. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But when you're looking like like I'd say a closer correlation would be you get TVs that have Chromecast built in,
Yeah.
which is like because like that's the thing of like when another corporation gets involved in other brands,
Yeah.
like that's a tricky thing. But look, if Chromecast could do it, I don't know what the brand is, but like I got a TV a while back. It was only like it was like a 720p smart TV, just something small to like for like the kids to watch like their movies on and stuff. It had Chromecast built in. I don't know what the brand was, but it was a much lower brand to start off with because I don't think you're gonna get like you're not going to get people like Sony or Samsung like making deals getting Chromecast built in. So I can see them doing it with like smaller branded TVs, because there are loads of other TV brands out there that make excellent TVs. You just don't buy them because you don't know the brand. Um, I can see them implementing it. I can
Yeah.
also see them implementing their own Chromecast or their own
Yeah.
like
Stick.
dongle,
Yeah. Yeah.
most likely.
But
Yeah,
I mean, remember the stick will be
because how else are you going to connect the controller?
40 or
Which I guess,
$50,
yeah.
something like that.
Yes,
Where
I
it's
guess if the TV's got Bluetooth, it could
yeah,
connect.
yeah. But what I'm
Yeah, you
saying
could
is
connect the
like,
controller that way.
if I'm like right now, I only have HD TVs, 1080p televisions. At some point, I'm going to upgrade to a 4K television or 8K, whatever, in the future. If I see one that has an Xbox Game Pass that's built into it, I'm more likely to be like,
Hell yeah.
I'll buy that one, because then, oh, maybe I don't need to put my console out here and I'll put my console somewhere else, or you know what I mean? Like, so it's just an added incentive. And like I said, I do believe, obviously they're not going to be able to get on Sony televisions, but if they could get a large manufacturer like Samsung or LG or whatever to
Yeah.
to
I worry about greed though. I mean, more greed and like greed ruining things, not from Xbox, because I don't think that they could ruin things. I think that like, look, as soon as Xbox Game Pass comes to TVs,
Mhm.
say they make a deal with Samsung, which would be ideal because
Yes.
most people buy Samsung TVs, most people buy Samsung smart TVs, and their smart TVs I feel like would be the easiest thing to integrate Xbox Game Pass into. Um, like that being said, if they do that, even though Google Stadia is failing, Google's going to be trying to make the same kind of plays. And even though Apple has their thing that fails as well, they're well, like you're playing classic games, whatever.
Apple
But they're going to
Arcade.
also be like, yeah, they're going to also be like, hey, why can't we integrate that? I mean, I guess Apple won't do it because
Well,
they're
I
like,
mean,
then
they
they have
already
to
integrated
realize
into
that
their
Apple
Apple
TV is
TV,
obsolete.
so
That's true. Yeah, I was gonna say they still want to. At the end of the day, they're still selling their Apple TV. Which who knows? Maybe in the future they'll realize that if you can integrate your Apple TV into like, just sell TVs at that point. You know what I mean? Just sell TVs, Apple. Like, why do I need to have a TV and then get Apple TV? Just give me an actual Apple TV.
yeah.
Like I'm not a fan of Apple, but the fact that they haven't already released their own TVs doesn't make sense to me. Why do I need a dongle for it? Moving forward, nobody wants to plug in eventually nobody's going to want to plug in
It's,
anything, you know what I mean?
it's easier to
uh
sell devices than it is to sell televisions because the
but yeah,
distribution of
imagine that,
televisions.
Dennis. One day it's not going to be the console war, it's going to be the TV war. Which smart TV is integrated with your favorite console,
Yeah.
you know?
But
i
then,
i hope it doesn't get to that point though, is the
but
thing.
but they'll have
Like,
dongles too. You know what I mean? There'll still be dongles.
mm,
There'll still be, you know, dongles where it's like, okay, we can, if let's say you own a Sony television, you want to play Game Pass or whatever, you'll buy a $50 dongle and stick it on and
you
you
just go,
play.
yeah, I agree, you'll go get the Xbox
It's
dongle,
not.
that'll be the stepping stone. Like I said, I just worry if this like the worries I have is more like 10 years from now, where if this becomes a successful means of doing it, I feel like other corporations would like greedily, like imagine having like, say for instance, like we say, they make these deals with the TV brands, right? uh PlayStation would obviously then make a deal with Sony. You know, it's Sony. The Sony TVs would then have like PlayStation Now included, so you can stream your PlayStation games. It then becomes a thing of like your Samsung TV is going to be bricked for Xbox, and your Sony TVs are going to be bricked for PlayStation. Like, I guess you could. I mean, as long as you can still get a dongle of the opposite brand and plug it in, there shouldn't be any problems. But I would really hate it one day if like buying a TV is going to be dependent purely on what games I get to play. You know.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the case. I
No,
hope I can
no.
like if PlayStation Now wants to integrate with TVs as well. I hope that I can have the option of having both PlayStation Now and Xbox on the same TV. You know,
Well,
ideally.
I think that they'll integrate one, and like I said, you'll just be able to get something that will help adapt. Because there's HDMI ports and whatnot, so I just don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. I'm just saying that Microsoft is just looking towards the future, which is the future is it's a consoleless future. That's basically what they're going for. Another side note to this is head of Xbox Phil Spencer. Not only did he have Satya Nadella, who's the CEO of Microsoft, on to talk about Xbox for about a minute and a half, he also kind of slighted PlayStation and their PC strategy. He didn't mention Sony or PlayStation by name, but he was just kind of saying, oh, well, our games, when they come out, you know, like our first party exclusives, they come out on the console and the PC at the same time, you know, like other people, you know, wait like many years before, you know, and you can't get them on subscription. They're just, you know, basically kind of throwing shade on Sony,
kind of dunking on them.
Yeah,
it's like, haha, cute. You're coming to PC. All of our games are on PC on day one.
Yes, he's not wrong though. He's not wrong. But
no, he's definitely not. No, look, I still think PlayStation is going to have success moving forward to PC. I still think that PlayStation will most likely make a huge deal with Epic or integrate into Epic, considering they're making big money moves behind the scenes. And then also, like, it seems like Epic has been, or at least I've been seeing Epic has been pushing Discord more on the Epic store. So I feel like they're also going to be integrating. I'm hoping, I don't know how, but I think Epic, PlayStation, they're going to try to integrate Discord to work amongst the PS5 and the PC, and hopefully they can do it cleanly. But yeah, going back real quick. Oh yeah, talking about flagship there. The reason why they will always push for consoles is because third world countries exist.
Yeah.
You know, until third world countries do not exist, they're gonna still be making consoles. You know, because a lot of people don't have internet or don't have or good internet even. You know what I mean? Some people don't even have electricity all the time, and that's when having a console. You know, especially the disc versions. That's also why I know people were complaining like and believe it or not, there were people complaining saying like, oh, why even have a disc version? Why just not go digital completely? And it's purely because people don't have internet. People don't have that option, you know? Yeah. And they would lose money. They would also lose fans that way. So they will, like, console, like I said, as for anybody who's worried about that, I highly doubt it though, but consoles will always be around because third world countries will always exist. Bad infrastructure will always exist. Unfortunately.
You know, what's funny is that even though, you know, America is such a large and big country and rich country compared to the rest of the world, internet isn't, I mean, obviously it's better than a lot of places, but it's not like Japan or Korea or Taiwan.
You get some crazy fast internet out there, man.
Because they're so compacted together that they don't have to travel long distances, and they're smaller areas, more metropolitan, and so it's much faster there than it is here. So they actually would benefit from cloud gaming much much more than we would in terms of using the internet speed. But you know, we'll eventually get there, I expect. So this one real quick, I don't have much to say. They had the Call of Duty Warzone Season 4 reveal trailer. Looks like fun, but like I said, these aren't my type
I was gonna say I'm so far disconnected from that my only question is, was that a T-Rex breathing fire, or like I saw like a dinosaur and then I saw some big creature thing walking around at the end. And I'm like, look, that's cool, but I was like, what? When did Call of Duty turn into this? You know?
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
I guess ever since Nakatomi Plaza, they're like, yeah, we can do anything.
you know, they
We
lean
can do
into the
anything.
zombies thing. You know, like I said, Call of Duty
Mm,
is kind of like over the top, you know, crazy, you know, version or whatever. So that I mean, my whole point though with the whole Battlefield thing before was, yeah, look, if you're a fan of this type of thing, you're like, oh well, let me go try out Warzone. It's free, you know. And you know, for you, like if your friends are playing Battlefield, yeah, you get Battlefield. But like if you're
mm.
a person that's not playing to play with friends or whatever and just hopping on, like you might as well just go to Warzone, you know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got quite a few things. It looks like they finally wrapped up the IGN Expo and
Okay.
Tribeca Games Spotlight stream. It was I was trying to cover as much of it as we could before the podcast are added on,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean it was a 4 hour stream. Well, I mean take an hour away from waiting, but still long stream. So I'll blast through a couple. Um, let's see real quick. We'll start from the top. What have we got here? Actually, here's an article that sums it all up. So, Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which this was something I was interested about because it's they're calling it the game within a game Borderlands spin-off is coming next year. Um, and like, it's kind of set in like a fantasy realm, which is interesting because it's like it's a fantasy game with guns,
Mm-hmm.
because it's Borderlands, but set in like this fantasy realm. It's like a fictional take on Dungeons and Dragons. It's
Hmm.
going to be 4 player co-op game that changes on the fly as Tiny Tina changes the story because I'm guessing she's the dungeon master essentially. Um, yeah, players will create and customize their own heroes. So you're literally creating. It's like their own little take on D&D. I'm really kind of excited for this. It's not what I was expecting, like at all from Borderlands. I don't know. I don't like words fail me at this point, but it looks fun. Like from what they were showing, at least the video. It looks crazy. It looks fun. It looks flashy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm keen for any game that has like takes influence from tabletop RPGs. Um, that like adds a lot of fun to it. There's a lot of voice talent apparently, so that's cool. Let's see what else have we got here.
World
Get
War Z. Did you ever play World War Z? It was a kind of
I
like a
did, but I'm more excited for this than I
okay.
was. Like World War Z was fun. Obviously, like nothing like mowing down a bunch of zombies, but this looks sick. They're like so yeah, they announced a World War Z Aftermath, which
Oh, yeah.
basically includes World War Z Game of the Year edition. It adds new characters, got a new melee system, new undead creatures, a new first-person mode, which I think is going to be fun. And it's going to run at 4K 60 FPS on PlayStation 5 and Xbox One, obviously PC 2 at that point. But they added melee to the game, which is something that they like better melee combat, which
Mm-hmm.
it was something that was lacking in the game. Added a bunch of new stuff, and it's like interesting because instead of making a sequel, they just decided, hey, we're going to take the base game and just add a bunch of things that
Makes
weren't
sense.
necessarily missing, but they probably just didn't think of at the time, Because
It was a
but it looks
surprise
fun.
for me. It was the first game was fun. I played co-op with
Yeah.
Dorian and Caboose, and we
Mm.
had a blast playing it.
Yeah,
Just
this looks good. Honestly, like
yeah,
this actually looks really good. Like it's got 8 different classes.
yeah. It's one of
There's a
those
new
like
Vanguard
it's
class.
one of those you don't have to think type of games, right? You just go
Yeah.
in there and just
It's gonna
mow
be
down
fun,
zombies.
man. You know what? While I'm on this as well, real quick, I'll go back to the announcements. I wanted to get your take on this, which is doesn't affect me, but Fallout 76 is getting rid of its battle royale mode,
Yeah,
which
never.
makes sense
I played
because
it once, and I'm talking
I
about battle
forgot they
royale
had
mode.
it.
It doesn't suit
Well,
it. That's the thing. The game does not
yeah,
suit that type of gameplay.
it's not something that it didn't make sense to me when it was announced. I believe it is free,
Yeah,
the
yeah, it
battle
is.
royale mode at least,
Yeah,
not Fallout 76, but the battle royale mode.
yeah.
Even then, I tried playing it once and it just didn't. It didn't click because it's not a game that focuses on shooting mechanics. It's a game that focuses on RPG and survival mechanics. You know what I mean? Well, I mean mainly survival mechanics, but yeah. So they're getting rid of that, which I thought, hey, may as well bring it up. It was worth bringing up. Let's see, Doki Doki Literature Club. They announced that people are excited about. It's just I think it's like kind of like a dating sim. Um, Audio Clash, Core Keeper. I'm just listing a few, but Bramble. This looked interesting. Bramble, the Mountain King. It's this. Yeah, they're listing it as an intense side-scrolling horror platformer starring two siblings who sneak out of their home one night and into a nearby forest. Um, it's like it's based on like Norse mythology, I think, or like or Norwegian folklore, possibly.
Hmm.
It's gory. Like the first clip I saw was just this kid stabbing something like repeatedly in blood. Like it looked really, really intense. Like I love these kind of games. It kind of gives you the feel of like Little Nightmares. Those like it's like the side scroller games with really good story.
Hmm.
This one just seems to be very gory. Um, but yeah, this looks good. It looks good. Looks fun. Thought it would be worth mentioning. So if anybody's curious, look up the trailer. It's only a minute and a half. Survival Machine also kind of caught my eye, which is it seems like a survival game, but you're on this giant moving truck, and I guess you're building your little village on this giant kind of like Mortal Engines, the movie, but you have your own Mortal Engine, and you're kind of running it and like keeping the upkeep and stuff, but with like a more very polygon like feel to it. Blacktail, I didn't actually get to see this. I missed this one, unfortunately, while we were doing the podcast.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. There is a couple other things. There was a boxing game that they announced, Big Rumble Boxing. Didn't look like my kind of thing. The Forgotten City was interesting because I think it
It's a
was,
Skyrim
yeah,
mod.
it was a Skyrim mod, which
Yeah.
is crazy. It used to be a Skyrim mod, yeah. Look also like it's just weird. Like I felt a little bit uncomfortable watching it because just the way the NPCs talk, there's something surreal about it. Like you know they're not real. Like I mean, look, when I play a game, I know the people I'm talking to aren't real, but there's something about these NPCs that's just like very uncanny valley, you know?
Hmm.
It kind of creeps me out. But hey, good for them going from like a Skyrim mod to being a full-on game. Unbound, like looks like an indie game. Splitgate exclusive console version. Black Skylands. Skatebird, which was just the weirdest thing. It's a skateboarding game about a bird on a skateboard, and it's like a little budgie. So it's kind of like it's a small bird, not a big bird. It's a little tiny bird, and you're like kind of skating around in like these obviously big settings because everything's big to you because you're a tiny bird. But odd. And this is actually mentioned this right before we got into the podcast. Um, there's a freaking Stranger Things and Smite crossover happening, which is probably huge. Look, there's been a lot of Stranger Things crossovers with games, but never like to the point where like this is a MOBA. You know what I mean? Each character has to have a move set of at least like 4 moves. You know, usually an ult and 3 other moves. Maybe one or two of them are passive instead of active moves. But like there are move sets they've got to do, and it looks the characters look great. 11 looks good. Looks like you get different skins of her. In the trailer, they kind of show off her outfit from season 3. You got Hopper. You got the Demigorgon. Um, I'm really excited about this because previously they did Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I thought that was the biggest thing that they ever did. I didn't think that they could top that. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I don't know how they're making these. I don't know how they're making these moves or these deals, but that's really cool that they're incorporating like bigger names like that into the game. Ollie Ollie World is a game that got announced a while ago. We got to see some gameplay of it. It's fun. Look, it's just Ollie Ollie, but set in like a slightly more 3D way, I guess. This is the Sherlock Holmes that they announced. 2 Point Campus from I'm guessing that's, yeah, from 2 Point Hospital. This is something that they announced earlier on in the week, and I don't know if you've seen this. It's called Sifu. If you get the chance, like just
Yeah, yeah, I've heard
this
about
looks
it.
sick, Dennis.
Yeah,
This looks sick. It's a good it's just like a good like a good hand-to-hand combat.
yeah.
They're calling it a fluid martial arts action game. From the people who made Absolver. I enjoyed Absolver, but Absolver got a stale for me after a while.
Mm.
So it's like they took Absolver, added a bunch of more moves to it, maybe a couple combos, added like more art to it, or just more to it in general. Because Absolver was very minimalist in terms of design, very minimalist. So they gave it more of a feel to it, and it's just I love it, man. It looks fun. It looks fluid. It looks like I could just be punching and doing kung fu all day. Streets of Rage 4 they announced, which we all know the Streets of Rage series. Wild West Dynasty, worth mentioning. That looked cool. Chernobylite, that looked cool. Also worth mentioning. Um, and yeah, that is about it for this showcase. Um, but there was also the Summer Games Fest 21, which they announced a few things at. Kind of, well, we already spoke about Elden Ring, which is where the announcement came from. A Metal Slug Tactics. There's going to be the Death Stranding Director's Cut is coming to PS5. Jeff Goldblum basically leaked the fact that there's going to be Jurassic World Evolution Part 2, which is cool because I'm actually currently playing the first one, Jurassic World Evolution. I kind of like those games. It's like Zoo Tycoon, but
Yeah.
with dinosaurs. I like it. I've always liked those kind of games. There's Sable. They announced like Sable got a release date, which is this. I can't really explain it. It seems like a very artistic game, artistic platformer. Where there's a heavy focus on the actual art style more than anything else. This I'm surprised it didn't get much more news coverage than it did, but there's Among Us is finally adding the hide and seek mode. Like there's a lot of these game modes that people play on Among Us that's like really fun, but they're not in Among Us. Usually they involve mods and you have to set them up with your like Discord server and your friends. But it seems like they're actually adding the modes themselves. I don't think that this is gonna this is probably not going to be the second coming of Among Us. I highly doubt that it's going to put them back into the limelight, but hopefully it pulls in more players again, or we get to see more content creators make videos of it, which look cool.
Is Among Us starting to die out now?
Oh, it died out a long time ago.
Yeah.
Like, well, not a long time ago. I'd say like because it's the Twitch trends.
Yeah.
Like you kind of follow the Twitch trends. Like after a while, people started playing. They got really into Rust. And then Rust was the new meta. Everyone was playing Rust. And at the moment, it's now all about GTA roleplay servers.
Okay. Well, before that, wasn't Valheim one of the trends?
Valheim for like that was like a trend too, but not for too long. At the moment, like now the current one is GTA RP, the role playing on GTA servers, like taking it seriously and stuff, which has been quite funny. A couple other things that they announced, but like nothing too wild. This don't know how I feel about this. So I have been patiently waiting for a game that was supposed to come out last year, but then it didn't. It got delayed. Nobody knows when the game's going to come out, which is Masquerade Bloodlines 2. I've been wanting this game for so long, Dennis. Like I want to say at least 2005, 2006. I've been wanting this game since then. Since I played the first Masquerade Bloodlines game. So I'm a little upset to find out that after all this time, having no news about when the hell this game's going to come out, even though they announced it a while back, instead they announced that they're doing a battle royale with such. I don't know if you've ever played Vampire the Masquerade. Look, it's a good game, but not too sure how it's going to work as a battle royale. Like I get how they're going to approach it, but it can't be too many people because like it's going to be hand-to-hand combat for the most part, you know what I mean? Like how do you do a battle royale without guns or long-range weaponry, you know?
Don't know.
That's the real question. Unless they add long-range spells and I don't know. I'm not excited for it. Purely because it's not the sequel that they were talking about for so long. But I am going to sign up for the closed alpha because I want to try it out, which starts July 2nd. So I want to try out the alpha, and hopefully I can get into the alpha and I can tell us if it's any good or not. But yeah, I think is that it. Tales of Arise trailer. Oh, there's Fast and Furious vehicles are coming to Rocket League. If anybody cares, I don't, but that's happening. Let's see. That's a cell phone game. No one cares about that. Yeah.
Right. I got a couple more things. One, free to play games. You can actually get Control.
Oh, yeah.
Control for free until June 17th on the Epic Games Store. Control was my favorite game of 2019. So that's a pretty awesome game to get for free. I even downloaded it.
I've already added it. Yeah, I've already added it to my library. I jumped on that real quick. It's the first mystery game that they've actually released that I cared about. I will say, or that's been big enough to like get the title mystery game. So definitely pick that up if you get the chance.
Tell me why is for free until June 30th as well.
On what's that, on Guild of Gamers? I mean GOG. Or Surviving Mars is free on the Humble.
Yeah.
But it was also free recently on Epic, so some people may have gotten it from there. Looks like there's a couple free games on GOG.com. PlayStation free games for the month. You got Star Wars Squadrons, Operation Tango, Virtua Fighter 5. Then they did this, though. I'm excited for this. Truthfully, like whenever this game talks about itself, I don't care because I'm gonna buy it. I don't care. Just give me the game, which is Back 4 Blood, which is the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. I'm like, I don't care what the game looks like. I don't care about what they're adding, what they're working. Just give me the game. It's gonna be good. You can't screw up the formula. It's such an easy formula. Give me zombies to shoot with 3 of my other friends. Plain and simple. But they did show off a new enemy, and it kind of looks like an abomination. That's the only thing I can call it. It just looks like some weird abomination, like almost like a super zombie. It's a lot bigger. But the characters look good. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, we get some more news on that soon at some point.
Yeah. So I have one last thing. It's big in terms of if you're into VR. This is actually some big news, which is Oculus / Facebook. They bought Big Box VR. And if you don't know who Big Box VR is, they are the ones who created Population 1. So now Population 1 is going to be exclusive to the Oculus platform. So that is...
I mean, moving forward, that's like ideal anyways, I think, because like you said, in Population 1, there are points in time where you're looking forward, but you're pointing behind you and shooting, It's going to be a lot easier to do that untethered.
Yeah, it's just one of those moves. It's like when they bought Beat Saber, right? They found like this is the perfect game for, because Beat Saber, if I recall, existed actually before the Quest was out. And Population 1 was cross-platform in the sense of like you could play it on Steam, and you can play on your Index and HTC or whatever, and on your Quest or whatever. I think Oculus is like, if people don't know, the Rift is dead. There's like no purpose in buying a Rift right now because they're like,
it's obsolete now.
It's obsolete. This, with Oculus Link and being able to play any of the PC VR games on your Quest anyways, there's no point in the Rift anymore. And the store itself is going to get folded into the Quest store. This makes perfect sense for them. This is a very popular game. It's not Beat Saber popular, but it's fairly popular. And to be able to get like a very VR centric, something that performs well on a tetherless system is just, yeah.
It's going to be a game. Well, it's going to be the first like boom in, I think, battle royale VR, or even just multiplayer VR. If you think about it, like I think it's going to be the first big boom in multiplayer VR.
Yeah, so it's just it makes sense. It's going to boost Oculus. I mean, they're really going for it. Facebook / Oculus in terms of the VR market. They want to be the dominant platform, and they're making the right moves. And to tie this back to what we've always said with Gamepass versus Stadia versus Luna, the point is getting those exclusive titles. That's it. Look at streaming services too, video streaming. They're getting exclusive programming. The only way you get people to subscribe is that you have a library of content and you have exclusive content that people want. And this is the only way to do it. And it kind of sucks for the consumer, to be honest with you, because it limits what. Let's say you don't have a Quest, and let's say you have an Index, and you are a fan of the game. Well, what you gotta go buy a Quest now to play the game. You know what I mean? For whatever population 1 or population 2 comes out, population 1, 2. I don't know how they're gonna name the next one. They probably won't do it numerically. They'll do population 1 : blah blah blah, the return of blah blah. Anyways, but my point being is like it just becomes a thing where
population 100 or something. I don't know.
It just becomes a thing with both video streaming services and gaming services. It just becomes a thing where it's like, oh, you want to play this one game or watch this one show or watch this one movie. It's only on this one particular one, So I think
moving forward, that being said, then in that case, it seems like the Valve Index and the Oculus, they're already ahead of the game at least in terms of owning IP. I don't think the Vive owns any IP.
No.
No,
that's
has a hand in game development whatsoever at all. So they don't own any exclusives.
That's the problem with their because even with the Vive Pro 2 coming out, and even if their hardware is very, very good, getting people to buy them.
Yeah, look, they're still one of the better high-end machines.
Yes.
But like you said, it's gonna get to a point of like if they don't have exclusives, like in the future. They're gonna have to make some make some plays. Valve doesn't have to worry. Valve has got a very easy way to getting exclusives. Yeah. Look, the fact that they haven't done it yet, but like, I'm sure they're working on it. But when they do release like Portal 3 as a VR title, like that's gonna sell super well as well. You know what I mean? And that's also I think gonna boost the index sales. And you're right. When Population 1 becomes exclusive to that only, I don't think it's gonna be a seller because it's not a big name obviously yet, but it's gonna like what that's the word of mouth. That's how word of mouth works well with Population 1. It's a good game, it's fun. If I have a VR headset and I'm playing that game and it's fun, if I have friends who have VR headsets, you bet your ass I'm telling them to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's how like they're gonna do well in that case. It's just gonna take time,
Yeah.
Like once again, I relate it to I'll talk about Fortnite because even like doesn't matter what your thoughts are on that game. When that game came out, like that week or that like 2 weeks, they didn't market it. They weren't like hell. They didn't even want to do a battle royale. The only reason they did a battle royale is because they were taking so incredibly freaking long to bring out their Save the World game, which is the actual game to Fortnite, which nobody even plays or cares about anymore. I think they just play the battle royale mode.
Yeah.
But there was no marketing for that. The game blew up purely from word of mouth. It was addictive, and kids were like, play the game.
Remember Apex Legends? They just dropped it out of nowhere.
Yeah, out of nowhere. And like people loved it. People loved it because they were like, "Wow, Fortnite's great. I wish there was like a slightly less childish version of it." Yeah, and then Apex came out, and they were like, "Hell yeah!"
First-person perspective FPS version. So
exactly, yeah, and like 3 people instead of 4 people, the squads.
Yeah,
but yeah, those are different. So it's good. I think it's gonna moving forward. I think that's gonna happen. Facebook has the money to buy IPs. Valve has the money to buy IPs. I don't think HTC has the money to buy IP,
which is funny because we keep harping on it, and I'll probably keep harping on it, but like Google is one of the largest companies in the world, and it's not that they don't have money, they're just not willing to fork out. Remember, they closed their in-studio, their first-party internal studio to develop exclusive games. They closed that. They didn't buy, unless they plan on buying like outright like huge companies, right? They're not. I mean, who can you buy at this point? Like a Rockstar or EA, EA or something. You know what I mean? There's got to be something that you have to have.
You either have to either that or you make something from scratch. Like when I think of people who can do that, I think of Amazon if they wanted to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Tough,
if Amazon wanted to, if they wanted to get into the VR world, I think that they should just straight up buy HTC Vive. Or just the Vive specifically. I don't know if they want to necessarily buy HTC, but
look at Microsoft. They just bought out a bunch of companies. I mean, culminating with Bethesda, but they bought a whole bunch before. They had bought Ninja Theory. They bought Obsidian. They bought a bunch of different studios.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. I don't see HTC buying any companies. I see a company buying HTC.
Yes.
Like that's like I mean I know because here's the thing. Apple's going to do its own VR headset as well at some point. Whatever that is, I feel like it's going to be more experience driven than game driven.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
definitely going to be more experience driven and like more of like a fashion statement. Like not everyone's going to have one. You know, they're going to be overpriced. They're going to probably be really.
Oh, they are really overpriced.
Yeah, but they're probably going to be super comfortable though. But yeah, like moving forward, I don't think they're going to care because their end game as well, like they said, is to basically make the money to be able to push their AR development in the future. But look, Google, they were in the VR game for a while, you know,
Yeah,
and
they had
then
the
like
AR headset or they had Google
and then they did the AR. Yeah, they got that as well. I don't see like them really getting into this, but I think Amazon because Amazon's trying to get into the gaming industry. I could see Amazon if they wanted to. They're either going to if they don't develop their own VR headset, they're just probably going to buy the HTC, you know? Try to streamline it, try to go untethered if they can. Like they'd have to try to like match the Oculus, which is going to be very difficult in terms of price point, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. They're gonna have to start making moves, man.
If you want to be in it, you've got to, you know.
But look, moving forward as well, as VR grows, the amount of VR developers will grow.
Yeah.
There will be more companies to buy in the future, you know?
Yeah. There's no AAA VR company right now. I mean, you could say Valve, but they're not really a VR company. They just happen to, you know, have so much money they could just throw at a VR system and VR games. I mean, they lost. I mention this all this time. They lost money by making Half-Life Alyx VR, and what I mean is they didn't lose money themselves. They just didn't. They lost out on the profit they could have made if they just made Half-Life Alyx for all PC, you know. So consoles or whatever if they wanted to. But they didn't. They could afford to do that. Not many companies can do that. So there are no real AAA VR studios. So
Yet.
All right, I think that's it for this episode. We covered a lot of stuff. There's a lot more coming tomorrow.
Tomorrow a hell of a lot more.
So let's see. Let's see what some surprises.
We didn't talk about our speculations, but I don't think we have time, which is also good because I actually don't have any speculations.
No,
I have no idea what to expect.
How about this? Before we go, give one wish from E3 that you
wish. Okay.
Yeah, like an announcement that hasn't been. We know Starfield's coming. We know Halo Infinite's coming. We know Horizon Forbidden West, even though they're not technically part of E3, but Sony will have their own thing. We know God of War Ragnarok's coming. What's an announcement that hasn't come to life that you want to hear?
I mean, truthfully, and like, I think maybe I'll be lucky and maybe they will, but I want to see some gameplay of Starfield, and I want gameplay. I don't want a cinematic. I want gameplay.
I say we're seeing it. I
hope so.
I'm putting money down that we're going to see it.
And then second to that, and I think, and this is actually less likely to happen, is I would just like an update on the Harry Potter game. I would like an update on what the hell's going on there, you know? Like, look, they did show us plenty when they announced it, but I'd like an update. Because that's something that I think, like you said, I know God of War is going to be at E3. You know, I know there's certain things I know I don't have to wish because I know they're going to happen. But I guess I'm a little hopeful. Hopefully, I hear some news about the Harry Potter game. But yeah, I want gameplay for Starfield, and I think you're right. We're gonna get it. I swear to God, if Bethesda just gives us like a little 30-second like clip of the freaking horizon of space, I'm gonna be pissed, Dennis.
Yeah, no. At this stage of the game, I think they need gameplay. I think there needs to be some in-game cinematics with cinematics with gameplay. Mine is similar to yours, but I do wish that they make, and this can be just a teaser, but an announcement for whatever Fallout 5 is going to be. Just a short teaser, like a.
I think we're more
15-20 seconds.
To get something about the Elder Scrolls.
Probably.
Look, it's going to be. It's going to be Starfield, then the Elder Scrolls 6, and then Fallout 5.
Yeah.
You know.
Most likely.
If not, probably another Doom in between there somewhere as well. You know.
Yeah. It's still crazy. Still crazy to think that these are probably going to be exclusive to Xbox/PC.
Xbox and PC. Yeah, I would like to see that too, but I don't think we're gonna see. I don't think we're even gonna see an announcement for Fallout 5
Probably
until at
not.
least like two years from now, maybe. You know.
No, I think the
Um,
announcement will be by next year. I think so. It won't come out for a long time, but like an
Oh,
announcement.
that's for sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll get. I think we'll get an announcement the way that they announced the Elder Scrolls 6, where it was like, "Hey, look at these heels. Look at this logo."
Yeah.
But at least we know it's in pre-production. You know,
I
which
would
is
just
good.
want a location. That's all. Give me a tease and
Mm.
give me a location. What
Do you
city are
think
they
they might
going to?
finally do it in New York?
I hope so.
Or like, do you think they finally might? I think like because I know people have always wanted New York.
I was surprised that they did West Virginia. They did L.A. That would be awesome. They did it before in Fallout. But that was like the pre-Bethesda days. So
Yeah.
what we
So who
got,
knows?
what we have so far is the Bethesda worlds. We had Washington D.C., we had Las Vegas, we had Boston, and we had
You
West
know what?
Virginia. So
I don't think
San
it'll ever
Francisco would be
happen, but
great too.
I would love another New Vegas game. I don't know how they would do it though, but
Well, they
I
they
just
can
do.
now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They can now. That it was
Yeah.
such a pipe dream because it was like, oh, well, Bethesda owns Fallout IP, and Obsidian's the one who made New Vegas. So and
Well,
New
now they
Vegas is
can.
New Vegas got bought, or Obsidian got
Same
bought by
parent company,
Microsoft.
man.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
they can totally do that now. So
That would
I,
be cool. That'd be
yeah,
cool. I'd like that.
yeah. Anyways, I think we should wrap up, and we will probably see you guys very, very soon because of E3. Josh, where can people find you?
You guys can find me on Twitch at josh.toki, and you guys can find me on Instagram at josh_toki. Oh,
And
and on TikTok, sorry, at josh.toki as well.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Subscribe to this YouTube channel, youtube.com/Revog. And we also have a podcast and a Twitter account. The podcast feed we have in the YouTube link, or if you're listening to us anywhere, you can find us there. It's on anchor.fm and all the like Spotify and all that stuff. I guess until next time, which is going to be fairly soon. We'll talk to you guys later.
Probably tomorrow or the next
Yeah,
day. Yeah.
exactly. All right. Bye.
All right. Later.